Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Across the Park podcast. We are of course at the marvellous Pod Cafe studios. As always, I'm joined by my sidekick Ian Mills, and it's another episode. So before we start, as always, thank you to Globe Heating and Gas, our brilliant sponsors. Lee is, I know he's chocker at the moment, he's in that mad season, loads of bathrooms to be fitted. So if you are looking for a bit of a refurb in your bathroom, or you're looking to upgrade your heating system, please give Globe a follow. I know Lee always appreciates, particularly when the Blues give him a shout and say that they've heard, or you've heard his company on Across the Park podcast. If you mention us, you do get a free quote as well, so it's always worthwhile. So yeah, we are back in. It's a interesting weekend, obviously, of football. It's just gone. Another glorious game. Another glorious day at Goodison. Didn't quite
warm,
go.
Weren't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was the. I think the last week the weather's changed a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It makes going the match a little bit more pleasant, and it looked like it was going to be another terrific result. It wasn't to be. We are going to get into obviously the decision that ultimately dictated the result in the end, but kind of where it went wrong after being 2 goals up, which is probably the first bump in the road under David Moyes, I think, since he's come back in. So we're going to start with that. Obviously, it was another terrific atmosphere. I think it's the first thing to say. Another brilliant effort from the 1878 in terms of the banners and flags and everything, and it was a great start as well. Yeah,
I'm not ashamed. I know you're not ashamed either to keep plugging these guys. They're doing great work at Goodison. It seems to be getting every display level, is better and better, and I think what that does is it generates an atmosphere when the fans see the flags going up, the other end, i.e. the park end, or the lads will start singing because they get a bit of a and it does generate an atmosphere. And the first half, Everton didn't really put a foot wrong. I think to be really, really critical, you would have wanted that third goal. Yeah, you would have wanted that to go in, i.e. we did against Tottenham. And everyone goes down for the half-time pint and everyone's buoyed. We all still were. We all seen a really good first-half performance. And I didn't see United getting into it. I was saying to you, I said they look lost, United. They don't look like they know where to stand. They're shouting at each other where to play. And I don't know, David Moyes has said that Lindstrom was ill and that's why he came off. I think we lost a little bit of the high press when he went off. And I think naturally United came forward by 10 yards and that's a dangerous... And 2-0... is a score where it's like so dangerous. It's so dangerous, and when the first goes in, our mindsets defend, their mindsets attack. The crowd's reaction, the away end goes up, the home end goes a bit down. So, yeah, first little bump in the roads, but I don't think Everton done a lot wrong really. Still, I think it was still a strong performance, albeit 1 or 2 little things that you could do better. No,
I think that's fair. I don't actually think we played that well in the first half. I just think they were really poor. Obviously, it's great to see a team taking the chances compared to the team that we seen 6 months ago that couldn't score for love nor money. So that's credit to them. I think it was a great performance from us at the weekend compared to what we've seen. But again, I wouldn't be critical. I think we took our chances. I thought there were moments. I mean, I'm always the first person to say, but I think the keeper has got to look at himself for that free kick. You can't be standing that far behind your wall when you set up a wall like that and you're that careful about it. I thought he gave Fernandez an easy option in terms of going for that corner. He didn't even dive. So I thought he was a little bit culpable. I thought it was a bit soft, the initial foul that got given before that, the handball got given for the second free kick, so a little bit unfortunate there.
I think the difficulty with that is I think Everton took 30, 40, 50 seconds in setting themselves up for the first free kick, and then a second free kick comes 10 yards further forward, and we weren't quite... Not that we weren't ready for the free kick because there's still that delay in the kick being taken, but I just think obviously it hit the wall, albeit a hand. It hit the wall in the first free kick, so you've sort of done the job. The positioning was correct there almost. I don't think we were ready for the second one. I just think we weren't set up right. The keeper was out of position, but it also beat the wall as well. He put it in in that space where it was. And I don't want to take nothing away from the goal, because I think it was a good goal, but I don't think Everton was set up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think the general point is keep our defence. It's a poor goal to concede. Yeah. I think at this level of football, it's not a goal you'd expect. It's not. It shouldn't be that easy to score from a dead ball situation in any situation. But yeah, I think once they've got the equaliser, I think you're looking at it, and David Moyes, I think we're certainly looking at it thinking, let's not lose this game, because that obviously we got caught by Bournemouth in that situation.
That would have been damaging to the whole momentum. If Everton concede, all of a sudden the same Everton players who were looking different and resilient go and do what they did at Bournemouth, against Bournemouth and at Villa. And yeah, I was a bit like you. I was like, I'm wanting to be positive and wanting Everton to go and get the winner, but those are a big part of me thinking, like, just do not lose this.
I think what you'd have to say as well, and we're not being hypercritical here, but you look at every game and go, what could we have done better? I'm sure David Moyes will be doing the same. I think the changes that he made should have come a little bit early before that free kick. They were standing on the line for about, and I do recall this, and I'm not nitpicking here. I remember when David Moyes' first spell in charge, he'd do that. He'd get subs up and he'd take about 5 or 10 minutes to actually bring them on.
Yeah.
There was a throw-in they got in our far corner at the Gladys Street. I'm thinking, bring them on now. Not a corner. It's not a goal kick. Like, there's certain moments that managers don't like to make changes. I agree with defending corners and stuff like that. That's fine. It can cause chaos. But they had a throw-in in the corner. He didn't bring them on. They switched the play and they pretty much went through the middle, where Garner was one, he was tired, and two, he was on a yellow. So I think they'd identified that he could go and play through the middle because he couldn't really make another challenge.
Yeah.
I think if he'd have made that change, I think when that throw-in happens in the corner, they probably don't get into the position they do before the free kick. But I think one thing, and another thing I'd say, which we seen, you pointed out in the Spurs game, these players are having to run a lot harder under David Moyes than they did for a long time. I don't think they're fit enough to actually play the way that David Moyes wants them to play for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And we've seen it against Tottenham where they pegged us back. I think we've seen it against Man United where they pegged us back, where, just a few tired legs in there, and we've obviously got quite a few injuries as well, which is making it difficult for the managers to make changes probably quicker than they'd like to. So
we've actually got a socials question I was going to bring in at the end, but it seems a good question to ask at this moment. So it was Joe on Twitter, and he's put, at Goodison, Everton have obviously opened up since David Moyes has come in. Spurs have scored 2, United have scored 2, Liverpool have scored 2. And these are the games that particularly were taking it to the opposition at Goodison Park, opposed to a defensive shape at Brighton. We played completely different. And he's actually said, Joe or she, sorry, was Dice right to an extent to not have us playing so open at Goodison because we do concede lots of goals?
No. I think that was the one thing I was critical of Dyche for, is not trying to be on the front foot at Goodison. If you asked any Evertonian, would you take conceding 2 every other week but winning more games? There's no two ways about it, and I would swap that any day of the week in terms of us going toe-to-toe with teams. And I think that there are going to be occasions, if you keep playing like that, where you maybe got beat every now and again 3 or 4-1. And we've seen that last time under David Moyes, there were games where we don't get hammered, but we get beat by a few because we were just being a little bit more expansive. So I'm not going to criticise the manager for that.
He is. I mean, I think the point, without reading between the lines, what I'm getting from that is we are set up differently at home. He is taking it to them, and away at Brighton, for instance, like Joe said there.
And Palace.
He was happy. And Palace, he was happy to go, you have the ball a little bit, and we'll just try and sucker punch you. But we are on the front foot a lot of Goodison, aren't we? And it does open you up a little bit.
Yeah, but it's enjoyable, isn't it? Like, we're all enjoying it, and we're all reaping the benefits. Now, you'd have to temper that with, if Beto maybe wasn't as clinical as he has been, we probably would have lost all 3 of those games.
Yeah.
So he's taking his chances, fortunately. He's in a rich vein of form. But that's not always going to continue. You know that. We're not talking about a world-class striker here. We're talking about a striker who's in a
good spell, yeah.
Yeah, he's having a purple patch, or he's in a purple patch at the moment, and that's not going to go on forever. So I do think it'll be a concern for Moyes that teams are scoring regularly against it. However, we're not talking about bottom 3 or 4 teams here. We're talking Liverpool, Tottenham and Man United. Now, Man United have not been brilliant this season. Tottenham haven't been brilliant this season, but they have got a lot of players that can score a goal in moments, as they did at the weekend. I'm obviously bringing it on now to the end of the game. It just begs belief how on earth. I mean, I'll be honest, probably fortunate we didn't get to record the instant match reaction. That's Millsy's fault, by the way. Millsy forgot the mics. But it's fortunate we didn't, for me, because I was a little bit on the fence with it. My first reaction when I seen it was, he's made too much of a meal of that. and VAR are going to get him to look because he has dived. No, he has. We're going to come on to the word dive in a minute. He's made the most of contact, which he's completely within his rights to do. But I thought it come into the category of soft. Now, watching it back and obviously seeing as many times as you do, it's not soft. It's a clear pull of the shirt. Now, I don't know if you watch Ref Watch on it or if you've seen it.
I did.
On a Monday with Stephen Warner.
Yeah.
It's a good show, by the way. I know Stephen well. It's a really good show. But Dermot Gallagher's talking about it and he's saying, I'm really confused as to the statement that's come out, which is basically defending Harry Maguire, saying it wasn't a foul by Harry Maguire, but it was a clear foul by De Ligt.
He may as well have said it weren't a foul by the striker. So 20 yards away, that the foul wasn't Maguire. I don't think anyone wanted the foul.
But how many times have we seen VAR, though, look at something and, I don't know, say it's offside, but then before they clear the offside, they go and look at something else just to check that there's nothing else going on. So VAR's job isn't to just discount the referee's decision. It's to look at anything in that run into the decision that was missed.
You've got a gang of guys there who are now being asked, can you disallow this goal for me?
Yeah.
But that's what they're there to do. Even like the go back to the derby where it came up on the big screen, potential offside, and then you don't get that potential foul. Like, what else are you looking at? Potential IBS in the half time or something, because you're now looking for something to rule these goals out. And it was like, the referee gives a penalty. And I can't blame the referee for going and look at that screen and saying what you're showing me. I've got it completely wrong here, because I thought maybe he did think it was Maguire, but he's seen a foul. He's seen a red shirt, foul, a blue shirt, and he's given the penalty.
Yeah.
He's then been told something completely different.
Now, if he sends Maguire off, that's different, isn't it? You're going, well, it's not a send. Now, the double jeopardy, I don't think you can do that. But the point being, if Maguire gets yellow cards, for instance, second yellow, and he's off, then that's fair enough. Then you go, look, we correct that decision. However, what was really, really annoying and made me angry is that they showed the one angle that all it's done was showing that Maguire didn't foul him. It almost disables the ability of the referee to see the Ligt pull.
Yeah.
It just makes it look like he went over dramatically off Maguire's touch.
All I can think of as any sort of plausible explanation for it is in his ear. They've said, what have you given for? And he's gone, Maguire fouled Young. And the ref in real speed has thought it was Maguire. And then they've gone, okay, well, let's have a look at what the ref's give it for. The ref thinks it's Maguire. But that should not then stop them going, hang on, well,
what it should
look
be,
what De Ligt's
What
done.
it should be is, look, Maguire didn't foul him. De Ligt.
It was De Ligt, yeah.
De Ligt pulled his shirt. We're going to allow you to see that.
Yeah.
And then you tell me whether you think that.
Look, spot on, ref, there was a foul, but it was a coming together with another player.
Do you want to see it just in case? Now, I get why they've maybe called him over to the screen for that reason, to go, look, you're telling us it's this, it's not this. Do you want to just have a look at it just so you can be confident, as 100%. We are, that it's still a foul?
Yeah.
It's the inability to apply common sense, and
if you're not doing that, then stop looking at numerous things in other scenarios. Like I've gone back to the Tarkowski goal against Liverpool. Okay, you're checking for an offside. But no, you're not. You're checking for other things. You're checking for multiple things. So you can't do it on one game and then not do it on another. And this isn't an Everton thing. This is inconsistencies across the board now. Like the officiating from the guys who are on the pitch and the guys who are sitting behind the camera, it's terrible. It's awful now. The officiating has just gone to pot. Like,
and we've said before, it's not the technology. The technology is a resource that could be used effectively. It's being used ineffectively 100%. So often, and it's making. And we've said it a few times. Various journalists and pundits have said it. The referees on the pitch now are not making decisions, and if they do make a decision, they're doubting themselves. Now, if someone in any walk of life, and we always compare football to the office or business or whatever, if you do something in work and your colleague comes up to you and goes, Ian, wasn't right that, I think you need to, and maybe a colleague on the same level as you need to have a little look at what you've just done there. You start looking at something in different eyes, thinking, where's my mistake? What have I done wrong? Yeah. And you go, all right, I'll withdraw that then because I've not done it right.
Yeah.
For you to go back to your colleague and go, no, I'm having it. I'm maintaining it. Yeah. You're putting yourself in a precarious situation, aren't you?
But there's also a scenario where you should be doing that. You should be going, do you know what? I'm the guy on the pitch here.
Yeah, you should.
You're there to help me. And again, you're talking technology's there to help. And they're not using it right. It's the equivalent of giving someone a 4K TV and then watching it in black and white because they can't press a colour button. Like, they're not using the technology, right? The technology should be there. There's so many angles, and you're not talking about I know they don't have it in lower leagues, but you're not talking about a lower league game here where there's 2 or 3 cameras set up. That game was broadcast across the world. There was numerous camera angles for them to use as well.
Well, that's it. I want to know why, and it hasn't been answered by the PGMOL because they've come out with their blanket statements. I want to know why he was shown the only angle that makes it look like it's a dodgy decision.
And do you know what comes out after it? And I'm not saying this is the case. It then comes out on social media, the 4th officials from Greater Manchester. And you're like, of course he is. And that's not me saying he's a Man U fan or there's corruption, but that puts it out there.
Well, that's what I mean. Mind. You're putting the PGMOL are putting themselves at risk of being accused, you know what I mean, by having those inconsistencies, and also coupling that with people start, as you say, taking 1-on-1 and getting 5, don't they?
Yeah. But they shouldn't be put in a situation that there shouldn't have been a Scouser or a Manc ref in that game officiating it off.
No.
Should have been a gang of Geordies or something.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, it's disappointing and frustrating because, again, we have threw a 2-goal lead away. We have been denied of a last minute penalty, which was a deserved last minute penalty. Now, did we deserve to win the game? A draw was probably a fair result, given the fact that we were the better side in the first half, they were the better side in the second half. It was a fair, but it's been made about, more has been made of that decision really than the actual game itself, which I think was a good game.
Yeah, and look, I think Everton are on a good run, and let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that we are on a good run.
Yeah,
I was listening to a pundit yesterday on TalkSport, I forget who it was, and he said, look, if Liverpool would have equalised in the 98th minute, and then Everton would have come back from 2-0 down again, I had a big second half at Goodison, Evertonians would have been feeling gutted 2 weeks ago, and this week it's the results still on a good run.
Yeah, the results themselves are good results in the context of our season, and the kind of resources the managers dealing with.
And I think the season is almost over to an extent. I think the bottom 3 will now go down because of Wolves win. Yeah. I think unfortunately the top of the league has dictated itself now as well. So I think the fact that we've got ourselves out of that now, I'm putting my neck on the line here, and I could become a meme if we get dragged into it, but I think we're safe, and I think the next couple of games as well. Now we're going to come on to Brentford tomorrow, but we've then got Wolves and West Ham, and I just think we spoke about how April could have been really nerve-wracking because of the run that we're going to go into. I think we're now in a position where we're not going to be really nervous. It won't be nice to not turn up and win games. Obviously, I think there's a really good chance that Everton won't win a couple of games in April, but the credit has to still go to that group of players and the coaching staff. What they've done, they've pulled us out of it, and we can maybe enjoy an end to the season where we're just maybe celebrating Goodison Park more than we would have. You know, we're going into a Southampton game worried. This is a 6-pointer. So I think the bigger picture is we're here to do week by week small picture. Yeah. The bigger picture is that group of players have pulled us out of it, and it was another good point.
Yeah, I mean that group of players put us in it as well. Now, obviously, you can blame the manager, but I agree that the group of players have raised their performance, raised their levels under a probably more competent stewardship of the manager. So yeah, make no mistake about that. I think they deserve credit for this recent run, and I think you're right. I think anything that comes between now and the end of the season is a bonus. Yeah. I think it's fairly safe to say, but well,
it's horrible to drop points, but it wasn't a big 2 points dropped. It wasn't like we're going in to go, oh my god, Ipswich just won.
No, you're right, and you pointed that out last week. This isn't a game we're coming into looking at the other results. Yeah. We're looking at our game, we're looking at what we can do on the pitch, and I think we should continue to do that as we go on. So I don't know if you want to bring the social media in now
we'll do
before we come on to Brentford.
We'll do the socials. So I've done Joe's. Carlos has asked Decore, new deal, yes or no? Another goal for him on Saturday.
Yes.
He's on big wages though.
I mean, yeah, there's always that factor. I think if it was a 1-year deal where one of them, I think I'd probably give him 2 years if we could reduce his wages in return for that. Or you maybe give him one. Look, it depends what's in the market, you know. In terms of who's available, it's a hard question to ask when you don't know, 1, how much we've got to spend, 2, whether we've got our eye on other players, and 3, how much depth we may or may not have in that position. I think at the moment, you would probably say yes, given the fact that we are being relieved of a lot of wages in the summer anyway. So I don't think I would be inclined at the moment to not offer him a 1-year deal, at least if we can if we're not going to be confident of getting other bodies in. But I was speaking to someone over the weekend, and I think we'll probably come onto this more as we get closer to the end of the season. We need a left back. We need another centre forward. We need a winger, at least. And depending if Decore goes, we need another number 10. So we need at least, I think, 4 players to come into that team. But not less. We also need squad players then to come in to add some depth to the squad. So if you come into the category of being a squad player on those wages, you probably say no. But if you factor in what we'd have to pay just to bulk the squad up, you're talking maybe 15 million to replace the Decore, something like that at the least. I would give him another year because I don't think we've got that money to spend. Decore's wages over the course of the season will be no more than 4 million.
So, so I think he's one of the highest earners. So yeah, I think he's,
but 100 grand,
140k, 4 to 6 million a season.
Yeah. So I think for that reason, we're not going to be able to get someone for less than 15 million. I think you'd delay that decision for another year by going, okay, we've got a backup number 10 in Decore, and you're having Dye maybe as your first choice number 10, assuming he gets fit. I think that puts us in a stronger position as a squad. I think there's a few players. I mean, Guy has been offered another year. I'd absolutely give him another year. I'd like to think that he'd be more of a squad player, and Edabunam and Garner get more minutes next season. But again, for me, I would give him a year.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't disagree, really. I don't think this would happen because he knows his worth and there's big money elsewhere. But if he could reduce his wages, give him 2 years, I'd give him 1 now and say we're losing about 11 here as it is. We can't.
Yeah, really. and let's be honest, the purple patches he had under Dyche first and as he's had under Moyes now have kept us in the league.
Yeah.
So I think he deserves a deal, and I would like to think he won't be first choice next season, but I think he has certainly still got the ability to make a difference, and not least, he's very durable. He's very resilient to injury. Very rarely, touch wood, gets injured, and therefore I think he's worth his weight in gold for that as well.
Liss on Twitter, I hope I've pronounced that right. Liss.
I'm not sure how else you pronounce it.
Yeah, but it could be a foreign name. It could be the Italian. I mean, or something, which I'm not going to do.
I think that would be unfair for you to expect.
We're going to stick with Liss. Before your podcast started, what Everton podcast did you listen to? And do you still listen to them? Do you listen to any other Everton podcasts?
Do you know what? I don't, and it's not for any other reason that I haven't really got the time.
What did you before this one?
No, I didn't. No? I didn't. I used to be into When Skies Are Grey, but that's going back to like fanzines and stuff. So I've always bought into Everton media, fan media.
You always see snippets, whether you watch them or not, you always see snippets.
Yeah, I mean,
some of the social things.
I follow them all on social media, definitely, and I do enjoy some of the content, and I'd encourage anyone who watches our podcast to watch other podcasts, because there are some very good ones out there. But no, I wasn't a consumer of Everton podcasts. I do enjoy podcasts in general. I watch and listen to a lot of sports ones, and I listen to a lot of business ones as well. So, but yeah, I think I haven't really got the time to consume any other Everton ones.
I think it did change for me a little bit. Now we do this, I think I try not to watch as many. I don't want to
be influenced. Yeah.
And I don't want to think, oh my God, I can't now say that because even though it's my opinion, someone said it first.
Yeah, I agree.
So I try not to watch it. The one I enjoy, and the friends of ours and the Blue Boys Network, they just have a beer each and they don't care about what the club think of them. They don't care what the club think. That's a great place to be.
Yeah.
We're a little bit, we can't exactly really do that because we've had women's access and stuff, and we don't really want to call everyone Effing and Jeffing and stuff all the time.
It's funny.
It's good to watch.
It is good to watch. It's definitely amusing, yeah.
Jack on Twitter, what represents a good end to the season? And this is a loaded question, Jack. Thanks for this one, mate. And what do you want to see happen on and off the pitch now to ensure that the spell never happens again?
Well, you could almost provide one answer that answers both the questions. I think a good end to this season is Moyes having a good chance to assess the squad, see which players he can fit into certain positions. Obviously, you've already seen like Jake O'Brien playing at right back. I'm not saying he starts to just play random players in random positions, but he's got to assess the capability of the squad and the flexibility of certain players to play in certain positions. Mm-hmm. If he can do that, it determines where he invests or where we invest our money in the summer. How we avoid that situation is the same thing, really, is we need to have a squad going into next season that is capable of dealing with injuries, that is going to get us goals from more than one player, which we've been guilty of in the last few seasons, and enables us to change as the season goes on. Not like if we're having a bad run, we have to just keep rolling out those same 11 players in the same system. I think we need to have the ability, okay, we're going to go to a back three. You look at the teams who perform really well and beyond their, I guess, what you would expect this season, would Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, maybe Brighton, but certainly Forest and Bournemouth. And the similarity between those two is they've had goals in the final third from multiple players, and they've been able to shift formations like that game to game. And that's enabled them to come out of a 2-game losing run and, change it to beat teams against the odds. So I think going into next season, I think he needs to, between now and the end of the season, probably needs to play around with some of the systems, play around with some of the players, see which players he thinks he can take in his first team squad into next season, and then that rolls into the summer, hopefully, and we invest in the right way.
Do you know what I'd like to see between now and the end of the season? Obviously, if Everton continue to do okay and be safe, Seamus Coleman plays some more games. Because I think the injuries now, I think unfortunately, I don't see him getting a new deal. I just think if you take the emotion out of it, someone that age who's been so injured, and it's not even a long-term injury, it's the niggles and stuff, but I would like to see him.
I think it's a perfect opportunity for him to step into the coaching role, because he's got a manager that he's played under, that the manager trusts, he trusts the manager. I think he would, I think he's wanted that transition, hasn't he? And he wants that natural transition. I'm not sure it would have happened under Dyche.
Yeah.
I'm also not sure it would have happened if we'd brought in a foreign manager. But I think under David Moyes, he probably will get an opportunity to stay in the back room, stay in the changing room, to some extent as well. So, yeah, it's a good point. That would be a night, and it would be fitting, wouldn't it, for Seamus to take his, walk us out against Southampton as captain.
Yeah,
he deserves that.
And it's the second half of the question there, Judge, was what do you want to see happen on and off the pitch to ensure all this doesn't happen again? I think for me is just we need someone who sort of takes the emotion out of it. I think Mashiri was very emotional. Bill Kenley was very emotional, and they made emotional decisions.
It's a plan, yeah. That's
so you need someone to take it almost, not Daniel Levy-esque, because I don't want to go that far, but someone to go, well, I'm making the calls here. There's your director of football, there's your chief executive, there's your manager, there's your kitty. But we'll sort the commercial side out and bob on.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I think the remaining games of the season, now that the jeopardy is out the way, which I believe it is, it's about making good decisions now and about assessing the situation, assessing the playing squad, assessing where we can invest, where we should invest, making the right investments in terms of players that we can sell on if we need to, the likes of Onana, which have helped us protecting our assets. I think, if we can tie Branthwaite down for at least another season, that'll make a huge difference. So yeah, I think it's an opportunity between now and the end of the season to get ahead for the summer.
Yeah.
So how many times, and we were guilty under it a lot under Moyes in his last reign, how many times did we go into that window and there's no signings, suddenly the players are back in from pre-season and it's panic buying. So I would like to think that, as you said, is the biggest difference now between the new setup and the previous regime, is that we get ahead, we do our business early, we invest accordingly, we tie the players down and we need to tie down. We move the players on who are not going to stay and make them decisions early so we can reinvest funds. But yeah, I think that's what the remainder of the season should be about.
Josh has asked, can we tell him about the infrastructure around Bramley Moor? He's a wheelchair user. He's concerned it's near power plants. Is it safe? Judge's not been to a game yet. I think he's been down the area. I went to the game test event last Monday now. If you watched last week's show, Josh, we talk more about it. Safety, yeah, Everton own the land around it. So where you're, I think also, depending on your circumstances, I do think there's parking facilities available for you through the club. So I'd recommend that you contact the club for safe parking. But the land the ground is on is perfectly safe. You can't really get near the water. You can't get near other areas.
He maybe worries about the cobbles and all that. Like you look at it.
I think. We can't talk for getting near the grounds, but I think once you're near the stadium, Everton have done a good job with the infrastructure, obviously around it. But yeah, I'd really suggest just that you contact the club, because I know that they're quite big on making sure fans are safe, especially wheelchair supporter like yourself. Terry's asked, are we doing any more women's interviews? He loved them. We would love to do more interviews with the women. I think as that's got bigger, it's became more in-house, hasn't it? The media team, Everton got a very good media team, and they're keeping a lot in-house now.
It's maybe maybe the new owners have come in. I think they're investing a little bit more in the women's infrastructure, which is great, which is absolutely what we were welcoming. I think Brian had his hands tied very much this time 6 months ago, but he's now been able to invest in the playing squads, and likewise I think they're investing in the back backroom team and other people, as you say. So I think that'll be probably more what we see, which is the same as the men. And again, we were, as much as anyone, battling for them to have equity and have relative investment to the other women's teams in that league, which they haven't had in the past. But I think, you look at the recent results and the performances against the likes of Chelsea where they've ran them close. Yeah. It looks like they're heading in the right direction. So I guess, in answer to your question, we'd love to, and we'll always be there if the opportunity arises.
Yeah, and the last one I've picked is from Harry. So thank you everyone for your questions over at Across the Park PC on Twitter. We got all the inboxes today, so thank you for them. This is the last one I've picked. I'm sorry if it's not yours, but there was a few. Do we know if there's going to be a big Goodison send-off? I assume he's talking about the last game, Southampton game. You'd like to think so, but we don't know. Like, we haven't got any intel on that. But you'd like to think, as supporters,
yeah, there's got to be something. I mean, we already know through, and this is, I don't know if this is a negative story. It will be for some fans, that the club have committed to having or providing a ticket for as many of their former players as possible for the Southampton game, which is going to obviously be a barrier to certain supporters clubs getting a ticket, which is, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? But I know, I mean, we know for a fact the club have been making plans for a long time for this game. For the season in general, but for this game, what they actually are precisely, we don't know. But I'm sure we'll be given that news as it comes, and we'll be able to share it with everyone.
Yeah, but the one thing we can share a little bit, and this comes from the club, is the club are looking to let you have your seat through some sort of purchase option. Don't be snapping the seats off. Don't be taking screwdrivers. The club I double checked if we could say this. The details aren't out yet, but they are looking at, you can purchase your seat. And a lot of fans would want to do that. A lot of fans are big memorabilia collectors. Put it in the garden and things. Stuff. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So I think, I know for the fact the club are looking at doing that.
I mean, why wouldn't
I've said this a million times. I want Colin Harvey to turn the lights off. I want him to be the last person at Goodison Park. I want the Southampton game to be an Everton victory. And you go, here's Kevin Campbell's family, here's Big Duncan, here's Howard's family. Is the 85 team. Here's a couple of guys who've been important in keeping Everton in the Premier League. Thank you to everybody. We're going to see you at Bramley Moore and Colin turns lights off. I think that's got to be, if the club can do that. But then you don't know if Colin wants that. You don't know.
Here's just standing and then just thinking about that moment. But
thank you so much for all the socials. Me and Judge do appreciate it.
Just before we move on, and I've got a little would you rather before we finish, and we have to touch on the Brentford game. I've saved this on my phone. This is going back a few weeks, so apologies, Ali. I got on the train to go to work. It's a nice story, this, and I know you love moments like this. Got on the train to go to work on the 6th of February it was, because I saved it in my notes. And there was an elderly lady standing by the door as I got on. I was standing up. She was standing as well. I tried to get her to sit down, but she was looking at me. She said, "You're Judge off Across the Park podcast." So I got talking to her. Her name was Ali. She said she listens to our podcast every week, amongst others. A lovely story though. She said she met her husband, her late husband Mick, on the train after Stoke versus Everton at the Victoria Ground in 1961. She's followed Everton since. Unfortunately, Mick, her husband, passed in 2009, but he worked for the MOD for many years, and they both went the match together. He died of his motor neuron disease at only 60, so really sad. But she was very fond of the memories that them two had going the match. She used to go home and away. But again, she said her way of following Everton now is listening to podcasts, and it was lovely to hear that. Yeah, you know what I mean? Nice. She said she gets so much comfort out of getting our analysis of the games and stuff, and she always listens to the match on the radio. She listens to Radio Merseyside. Yeah. But I said I'd mention her. So hello, Ali. Hopefully I'll see you again on the train soon. She lives in the Waterloo area now. But lovely to see you, Ali. And anyone who does see us, it's great to hear for us. We don't. Said it many times, we don't make any money from the podcast. There isn't any kind of commercial gain. We do it to spend a bit of time together as friends. Hopefully, to get some of our kids into the match as well, which you do. But it's lovely when you hear that it if our podcast helps anyone and brightens up the day, something to look forward to, it's great to hear.
Yeah, regardless of how great a studio is, when we're talking, we haven't got a clue who we're talking to, really. We don't know if anyone's listening, if people are not bothered by it. We hope that people enjoy our content. We hope that people sometimes shout and disagree with us, because we've done that enough times. So
yeah, that's fine,
it's nice to hear that, you know, people are switching us on in the kitchens and stuff, and that's a nice story, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, moving forward to Brentford before with you, would you rather? Interesting one. I think it's probably the first game we've come to now, as we just said then, where it's like, you know, the points aren't absolutely essential. I wouldn't go as far as to say that against Palace, because I still think we needed to pick points up there, or we certainly didn't want to get beat. I'm not saying for a minute this is whatever. It's a throwaway, because I still think it's a good opportunity.
Yeah. No, I would go so far away from a throwaway. I'm just looking at the league table now, and one thing I did notice when I looked at the league table after Saturday was there did seem to be a gap. Like we were top of the crap, basically, and there was a gap to the next.
Top of the crap.
Well, we were, and then Brentford's on 37 and 11th position. We're on 31. If we have got aspirations of ending the season well, then you've got to catch these teams and go and beat them. So I'm not saying that you said this, but I'd go so far away from it being a game where, okay, well, let's.
Well, it's an opportunity, isn't it?
I think we're safe now, and now we need to start looking up. I've stopped looking back now, and I want to start looking up a little bit. And not that 10th gets you anything, but how nice should it be if everyone could finish in the top half of the season? And to do that, you've got to pull Fulham, you've got to pull Brentford. I've
said it a few times, going back to the start of the season, 10th or the top half finish would have been the top of my aspirations, or the top of my, not aspirations, you obviously
realistic
expectations. I wouldn't have expected us to finish any higher than a 10th, and I thought that would have been a good return and an improvement on the last 4 or 5 seasons. So I think that would be amazing. I think going into that game, look at Brentford have turned the corner very much. They were down there. I think there's a lot of injuries, but you know, Visser and Bueno have almost single-handedly dragged them out of that. It's always a tough place to go. We haven't picked up that many results there.
We got the win there last season, didn't we? I think that was that people shouting at the radio and on the screen. Probably, I think it's our only win we've got there.
Yeah, the only other time I remember us getting results is when Anthony Gordon scored that early. I think we drew 1-1 that day.
Yeah. So we won there last season. Tarkowski scored from a corner, and Lewin came off the bench and scored. Yeah, they're a decent team. I'm saying there, if you beat them, you're only 3 points off 11th than where they sit. So they're not a bad team at all. They've put good results there the past few seasons. They're almost, I know Brighton are your big model, but they've done it for longer. Brentford are almost your realistic model for the teams who come up and go, we've got a belief in what we want to play as. However, we're going to invest in this, and we're going to get some better players in, and we're going to continue to play like this. Like, we're not going to go 4-4-2 when we need to, but also what that means is we're not going to really finish in Europe. We're a mid-table Premier League team, and if we can consolidate ourselves there for 5 or 6 years, and by doing that, you do win a lot of games to be there. So it's not going to be an easy game by any sort. And I think Brentford will look at Everton coming on a Wednesday night and go, there's a great chance for us to get 3 points and have a good night at our own stadium.
Well, for them, obviously, they win, and they are realistically looking at an opportunity
if they win, they can
maybe break into those. Yeah.
Well, they pull Brighton in. They go with 11 points with Brighton. So that congested area.
Big game for both teams.
Yeah.
I would expect for that reason goals, because we're probably going to win it. I don't think it's a game where you look and go, let's just take a 0-0. I think, as you say, I think David Moyes and his staff will very much be saying to the players, look, how high can we finish this season? And in order for us realistically to finish much higher, we do need to win. Would you make many changes? I mean, Timur Abunam's been coming on maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. Would he be a player maybe you'd be tempted to bring in at the weekend?
No,
weekend on Wednesday.
I wouldn't change it. I don't know how fit Lindstrom is, because the manager said he was ill.
I got the feeling it was like cramps, you know, like he didn't look like he limped off.
Yeah, I don't know. The manager said ill could mean a number of things, can't it? But no, I think until you can't do much more in this league, until you're stuck in that echelon, I wouldn't really change it a lot. I do think at some point this season, like I said, I want to see Seamus Coleman back. I'd love to see Youssef Chimiti get a goal this season and really kick him into pre-season, but no, I think whilst I've got these mini aspirations of seeing Everton back in the top half of the league, I'd keep. If it ain't broke, you're not fixing it. And I think it was borderline harsh to drop Alcaraz on Saturday, but Corey comes with his physicality. and you go in 2-0 up, and him and his partner up front have both scored. It was the right call, so I'd keep it as it is. I wouldn't change Tom.
That would be the change I would be tempted to make, is based on his performance at Palace, is to bring Alcaraz in for Doucouré. Yeah, I think he's played particularly well at Goodison. I wouldn't say away from home across the season. He's been very good at all, to be honest. I think when you're playing in a game where you're conceding a bit more possession to the opposition, which we did against Palace, I think Alcaraz holds the ball up a little better. I think he's got a bit of more of an ability to drop in and make things difficult. He can retain the ball better than Doucouré. I'd probably be more tempted to play Alcaraz against Brentford, and that's not a dig at Doucouré necessarily. I just think it's horses for course. I think he's a better fit for this game.
I know, I could see it. I mean, I wouldn't be disappointed.
And also, you've got to look at it, and the reason, the point I made before about assessing the squad, we need to see as much of Alcaraz as possible to decide if that investment is going to be a shrewd one at the end of the season. It looks like it'd be a no-brainer.
Yeah, but right now, I think that could be part of the thinking in a way, because I know there's a trigger point in how many games he starts. I think we trigger that option, and I think maybe the manager's thinking, I don't want to trigger that option in mid-March, and then he has a stinker in April. So I think there's an element of maybe, like, I do like him and I do want to see him.
Sure, it's 10 games.
Yeah, if he starts 10 games, he's done 1 and he could have done 3.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you get to 3-4.
Yeah, but I mean, he's good though, and he is good. He looks a player.
Yeah, but I also think we know from the first time we had him how cautious and careful David Moyes is with money. And he's not a manager who will trigger something when he's not 100% in. So, I mean, maybe the same value of the deal can be triggered by just us bidding in the summer, if you like. So I don't know, but I think if he starts 7 games and comes on in 5, you can probably still see enough of him.
No, I think it was just an add-on for me. I still tactically would go for Alcaraz in this game regardless. But yeah, you make a good point, and we'll soon see. So right, we're gonna. I'll ask you for a prediction first before I go on to would you rather.
2-0 to Everton. 2-0. Yeah, I think the way the manager will set us up will be a little bit more, in our own half more, as he always has done historically as well. We'll play in our own half, and I think the goal we conceded against Palace, Brentford don't really play that way. There's not a big, massive unit up front who's going to drag defenders and cause problems. They scored from a sort of set piece that came back in. Brighton couldn't break us down by playing similar to how Brentford play at home. I think Everton will score goals. Yeah, I'll go Everton 2-0.
I'm going to go 2-1. I think, despite what you say about Palace, I do think it'll be a similar game to that, where they have the lion's share. We probably rise our luck a little bit. It'll be mainly wide areas, I think, that they look to try and get at us, and I think they might have a little bit of joy there. But I think on the break, they're vulnerable anyway, Brentford, and I fancy us to outscore them. So to them,
take either one of those bad boys.
With either of them. So right, we're going to finish the show on Would You Rather. Millsy's well better at these than me, by the way, but I thought I'd try and tug on the heartstrings a little bit with my Would You Rather than it being like an Everton one. I'm going to get Noah's in the studio at the moment, so you can't hear this.
He's piqued his attention.
As he is. So I'm going to ask you the question that relates to Everton and Noah as well. So
okay.
Would you rather, from now on, from next season onwards, Everton win a trophy every other year? Or, that we're always in the mix. That whole 95 thing is out the way. Okay? But Noah becomes a red.
Oh.
Or Noah keeps going the game as he is. He's a blue. By the way, I'm going to go back and just make an adjustment to the first one. He's a blue, but we never win a trophy in your lifetime.
So he can either go.
He goes the game with you.
Probably have endless joy by going to be a red. It sounds horrible.
No, but he goes the game with you still low, and he'll still sit with the dad against like, oh, this is good, but he's a red.
No.
Like he
No, I think as much as I want life to be better for him, as any dad does.
But life will be better for you as well, because we're winning trophies as well.
Yeah, but I think
the Reds can't sing that anymore, and it's like you go to Wembley a few times. No, maybe comes with you, but he's a red.
No, I'd keep the misery as it is.
Again, answers in the comments if you think about that one yourself. I'm not going to answer my version of that.
I've got to get you back next week.
But yeah, I mean, you've got 2 as well, so maybe I'd go with one of them can be a red, and I can keep the other one as a blue.
I don't think I'd have the patience.
What if Hattie just starts going though, and it's just like
no, then she's the navigator with Mick and May. Couldn't do it.
Brilliant. Okay, answers in the comments if you prefer And today, your child, or maybe it's your brother or your sister who ends up becoming a Red, but we win a trophy regularly, and it's like, you know, bus parades and all that every other year. Or you stick with what is at the moment, which for us is the status quo. We haven't won a trophy since 1985, and that continues until the end of our lifetime. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. As always, thank you so much to the Pod Cafe. Thanks to Laura, our marvellous producer. Thank you to Globe Heating and Gas for Lee for his continued sponsorship. Thank you for all of you for your support, your comments, your likes, your subscribes, because I'm sure you do all those things. And we'll catch you next time. Up the Toffees.